Elbow Grease Productions, in association with MichaelJacksonInsider.com, presents Pearl Jr. from MichaelJacksonInsider.com, and I am here with Bryan Michael Stoller here at the Hollywood Film Festival here in Hollywood, California. And you have a movie that's Is it debuting here?
This is the festival premiere for First Dog.
Okay. Now the movie's called First Dog. Now I know we're going to get into the little bear, which is a dog, but his name is Little Bear. We'll get into that in a second. Tell me a little bit about this movie.
Well, Bear is the one who inspired this movie. I got him about 7 years ago. He was actually owned by Nancy Reagan, and I didn't know it when I got him because he was a rescue. And I later found out a month later they called me and said that Nancy wants to meet me and see how the dog's doing, and it turned out to be Nancy Reagan. And so
you didn't know it was Nancy Reagan? When they said Nancy, you just thought any woman named Nancy. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. So then they brought us up to the house, and we spent about 4 hours hanging out with Patty Reagan and Nancy Reagan. And Ronnie was still alive at the time. I didn't meet him because he was bedridden. But and then afterwards, I was just thinking, this is like he's a sort of a former First Dog. Started turning, and that's how First Dog came about.
So this story is the story of his life. It's a feature film. It's not a documentary. Am I correct?
Right. It's a feature film. It's loosely based on his life, but it's more inspired by him because it's about a foster boy who finds a lost dog, and it turns out to be the President of the United States dog, and nobody believes him. So he runs away from the foster home to return the dog to the White House. So it's an American adventure.
Wow, that, it kind of reminds me of this little kids show called Run, Joe, Run, kind of, where the dog was kind of being followed and all this other stuff. Right now, I need to tell all the Michael Jackson fans out there about Bryan Michael Stoller. Now, you were great friends with Michael Jackson.
Yes, and it still hasn't sunken in completely that he's no longer here. There's times when I want to pick up the phone or send him a fax or drop by, and I stop myself because I can't anymore,
Now, what was your relationship with Michael?
Well, Michael and I had been friends for over 20 years. I did a spoof on his famous Pepsi commercial, and it ran on a show called TV Bloopers and Practical Jokes, and Michael saw it, and he called the network and asked for a copy. They gave him my number. And so one day, 20 years ago, I get this phone call from somebody stating that they're Michael Jackson. I almost hung up on him. And
that is a typical story.
And he wanted a copy of it, and I dropped off a copy, and he was living at the Havenhurst house at the time. And the gates opened. I thought the worst could happen is it was a prank. They'd send me home. The gates opened, and there was Michael waiting for me. And then we became friends that lasted right up till the end.
Now, you guys did a movie together called Miss Castaway. Tell me about that.
Miss Castaway was a real silly movie. It was kind of in the vein of Airplane and Austin Powers. And Michael had a great sense of humor and a very dry sense of humor. And we were always kidding around and doing funny gags to each other. And he wanted to be an agent, Men in Black, but they wouldn't let him. So I thought, well, okay, in Miss Castaway, let's make him Agent MJ. And he just got a kick out of it, and we shot it over a couple of days up at Neverland. And he just had such a great sense of humor and had a lot of fun with it.
Now, with that DVD, I think it has like 20 minutes bonus footage of Michael at Neverland.
Yeah. There's some very, very exclusive behind-the-scenes footage of me and Michael, and a lot of candid stuff that people have really never seen before with Michael. And we were just kidding around and having fun.
Now, Michael met Little Bear, am I correct?
Yes, Michael didn't. He met Little Bear, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Michael is afraid of little dogs.
But he could take snakes and giraffes and lions and tigers and real bears, but
yeah.
Little dogs.
Yeah, I used to think it was the funniest thing because, tarantulas, he wasn't scared of anything, but little dogs he was. But what's interesting is he used to have like staring contests with Bear. And he would say, this is a really beautiful, intelligent, smart animal. And if I would hold Bear, Michael would pet him. But he was afraid of him. And it was just so, but he was very intrigued with Little Bear.
Now, did Michael get a chance to read the script?
Yes, Michael read the script. As a matter of fact, I was mentoring his kids, Prince and Paris and Blanket, and they were actually going to come in and sit in on the editing and post-production.
So you met Prince, Paris, and Blanket.
Oh, I knew them from their inception. I mean, I knew the kids since they were, peas in a pod. Yeah.
And with those kids, what would you say was did they like Bear?
They liked Bear, but Michael was apprehensive to let them play with him.
Oh, Michael didn't want them to want a dog.
No, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So, but no, the kids wanted to play with him, but Michael was afraid for them. Mm-hmm. But Little Bear is also a service dog where he goes into hospitals and he actually plays and works with children, even babies. So he's like the gentlest of animals.
Oh, that's something that Michael did often.
Yeah.
He did a lot. So so Michael never saw the completed movie. Did he ever see the filming of it or anything?
He was getting he was starting up on his tour and he was into rehearsals, so he never had time to come to the set. He was going to try, but we could never coordinate it with everything that was going on. And he was under a lot of stress then, and it just would have added stress to him having to come out and stuff. But he and the kids were looking forward to the post-production and to seeing the film. And you'll notice when you watch the end credits, they're in the thank you credits, all the kids and Michael.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that Prince, Michael's oldest child, wants to get into movie making. Is that true? Does he have like a little special talent that you noticed?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wrote the book Filmmaking for Dummies, and Michael gave copies to the kids and stuff, and he was buying up equipment, and he had like dollies and cameras and the whole thing. But when the kids were younger, they didn't know what the dolly was, so they were using it as a toy to ride on. And for people that don't know what a dolly is, it's a board with wheels that you put the camera on to move it back and forth. But the kids thought it was a play toy. But no, Michael was encouraging it, and the kids really caught on to that. And as a lot of people know, Michael had his own theater at Neverland, so the kids would always be there watching movies and studying. Michael was teaching them movies, and I was teaching them, and it was very intriguing to them.
Now, did you know about any secret movie projects or film projects that Michael had?
Yeah, I was part of some of them. So we had a project called Cage the Animals at Night, and Michael and I were going to co-produce the film, and it's based on the book called Cage the Animals at Night, and the author, Jennings Michael Birch, wrote the book when he was a foster kid. And so Michael and I flew him in from New York and had him there for about a week, and I sat Michael down. A lot of people don't know this, but I have exclusive footage of Michael interviewing the author of the book that we were going to turn into a movie. I have about 2 hours of footage, and it's reversed where Michael's not the one being interviewed.
Wow.
He's interviewing Jennings, and we were going to put that on the bonus material for the film. So one day I'm hoping to maybe do the film in honor of Michael, because he really wanted to see it make the screen.
You know what's so funny about that is that I think that's a unique perspective where Michael becomes the reporter.
Yes. Very rare. I don't think he's ever done it before.
I couldn't imagine that. Wow, I'd love to see that one day.
I could show you some clips.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, nobody's ever seen them. There's been, it's pretty exclusive stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hold you to that, okay? Bryan Michael Stoller.
Okay.